examining the context of for whom and why. And therefore, when we create the what, the how, or innovation, becomes a perfect fit in achieving our target with minimal and available resources. It was the absence of fresh design thinking in the government's initiative for setting up 4 new National Institutes of Design that led to, or not just the absence, it was a clubbing together of educational and institutional matters with the architectural tender that led to wide online protests, discussions, debates, and how the Vision First movement emerged. This movement gathered strength and momentum with the favorable response and support that we received from Mr. Sam Petroda and his office. So when he gave out a call for setting up 20 new design innovation centers, Vision First came up with a spate of proposals. This, I'll rush through these proposals. I won't get into the details of each one of them. They're all available on our website at visionfirst.in. I will dwell on the thinking behind one of them, which I thought would be appropriate to discuss in the context of design as we've been discussing since yesterday. This is one of the proposals for setting up a prototype center. This is an innovation atelier based, supposed to be set up as part of the JNU campus. This is how to relook at the ITIs at all the districts and rural areas. How to create design innovation centers like community center, where anybody who has an idea, whether you're a layman or professional of any field, who could come there and maybe find the kind of expertise to take it forward or discuss it. This is design innovation from grassroots to metropolis. D-complex. I will get into the thinking behind this. I'll dwell on that. It is how we can take, how we can find design solutions for complex problems of society. This is to set up a design innovation center inside a healthcare facility, because it's again a place where it is neglected, and it could become like at AIMS or any of the civil hospitals, or where you're close to the patients, you're close to the doctors, you're close to all the facilities, and you could have a live design center which could cater to those great solutions, etc. This is about setting up hubs and multiple hubs for making India more innovative. This is about setting up a design innovation center to deal with problems of urbanization. This is, at short notice, this is what we came up with. There were many others which we couldn't give final shape to or anything. Now, Vision First, as you know, is not it's a movement. It's a collection of people. It's a collection of design thinkers. We've been able to gather together and come up with a lot of valuable things. But we would need to partner with everybody. And we are open for participation from the entire design community. Yeah. Some of these we don't know because we haven't partnered with any other institutions, but we are open to partnerships, and maybe some of these may see the light of the day. Okay, the rest of my talk is about Plan D. Plan D as different from Plan A, B, C. It's not in that sequence. I don't think we need to follow that sequence. It's about finding design solutions. Now, many times problems do not present themselves as design solutions, but can we look for them? Imagine transforming the country's school education system from its focus on rote learning to real learning. Today, the entire school machinery is geared to help the students score well in the exam, irrespective of whether there has been real learning or not. How do you develop your thinking when all you have to do is to choose from ready-made answers? We shifted from having to write essays to multiple answers that you choose from because of how to do things more easily. But are we really looking at what is the real learning that has been gained? I would imagine by the end of schooling, one should know what one's true strengths and weaknesses are, and one should know what one would be good for, or some idea of the kind of directions. But today, instead of being able to pursue what you really want, or because most of the time you don't know what you really want. So these are dilemmas that we have to look at. And does our education provide for this? And this is not happening because the entire machinery is going towards how to gain 95% or 98% or which defeats the very purpose of the game. So how do we transform this? Do we retrain the entire teacher fraternity? Build a separate set of model schools? Start new training schools for teachers? Allow coaching classes to take the initiative? But what if we redesign the exam? What if you had open book exams that tested real learning and not what is written in the books? You have the entire attention of the entire school machinery of the country. They were originally set up to provide real learning. They lost the direction in this race for scoring high. We need to change this. And the most cost-effective solution would be to redesign the exam itself. There would be protests, they would be different because you're too comfortable in the way you've been doing things. You can imagine the costs involved compared to retraining the entire teacher fraternity, etc. We move on to another problem. Ticketless travel in Mumbai locals. I'm told the losses incurred by the suburban railway network in Mumbai is to the tune of around 8 lakhs a day. This is unverified. It doesn't really matter whether it's 8 lakhs, 10 lakhs, 5 lakhs. Yeah. Now, you're losing so much money every day. What could be the solutions? How do you tackle this? Do you prescribe severe punishment? Do you increase the number of checking points and the frequency of checking? Or do you make it easier to buy tickets? But we could redesign the ticket itself. What if every ticket was also a lottery ticket? The compliance level could suddenly shoot up. Huh? You might even have people buying more than one ticket. Huh? Many of these strategies are developed by my students with whom I work, where we take this kind of problems and um, have a systemic understanding and find design solutions. Then they said, lottery is still gambling. Can we do something else? So they came up with solutions for advertising by plumber, household help, um, all the kind of services which are difficult to find. Suddenly, now if you're buying a ticket to Borivali, then you will get these services for Borivali, where to find, with a number and this thing. So it's very low cost advertising. But it is both ways, for seekers and for providers of this kind of services. Suddenly the ticket becomes more valuable. Now, whether it is a lottery ticket or whether it is changing the nature of the ticket, all these solutions would be better than the existing one, because it would not only increase the compliance of buying tickets, it will also cover your ticket production costs, which at present is an expense, and suddenly it comes back. So you can never really go wrong by seeking design solutions. I put this together for this presentation, which I thought we should keep it as concise as possible. So I don't know if I'm being simplistic or I'm able to communicate. There is an understanding of the power of design. For me, a design solution most of the time is a creation. It's a tangible creation, or I've put it recreation, and it's not recreation, or modification. In either case, creation is essential, but it is intentional, it is done in a context, and so it is meaningful creation. So even when it is not tangible, like it is a service or an experience or a process, there is a perceptible difference that is new, and it was not there before. But this entity has the potential to rearrange the interconnections within this complex situation in such a way that there is a transformation of the situation itself, without undue pressure on reforming people, policing them, recreating new systems altogether, and so on. I normally call this a structural understanding of the situation, and design has the potential to modify the structure and therefore change the behavior and achieve new targets. This is not very different from what Bucky Fuller says when he says, "Seek to reform the environment, not man." The function of what I call design science is to solve problems by introducing into the environment new artifacts, the availability of which will induce the spontaneous employment by humans and thus coincidentally cause humans to abandon their previous problem-producing behaviors and devices. Bucky Fuller, his long sentences. I actually removed the rest of this to make it still concise. But essentially, the philosophy is the same. You're not trying to change the man, you're changing the environment, and therefore, by the introduction of something, bring about that large transformation. So when you practice design systemically, it could throw up the most cost-effective of design solutions to large complex problems. I've shown examples of social problems, societal problems, but I've spent last 2-3 decades in practicing industrial design, and I've been able to transform businesses, like our first project for Symphony, gave a growth of 60 times, 60, to the company through one creation. Now, so this kind of large impact transformation can, it is irrespective of what sector it is in. Huh? So it is based on this that this proposal was submitted as a design innovation center. It is conceived as a lab and a school with one set of expertise. The lab would deal with the problems both from government, business, communities at large. The lab actually generates the knowledge and disseminated in the school, which would ensure there are at least two revenue streams, payments from stakeholders of the problems and fees from the students, so that it is sustainable. The center would create opportunities for postgraduate students for research, etc., etc., etc.